Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the main event? Hailing from the world of online content creation, I have sitting with me the man, just like the Energizer Bunny that doesn't stop going. The original Troyboi vibe setter, bringing his own heat and rhythm to every place he goes. And let's not forget, his heart's so big that he impacts all the people around him, and it is helping him to run a marathon each month this year. Please join me in this warm welcome of Mr. Matt Choi.
Dude, I feel that, man. It's not no one else is really in here besides you, me, and my brother, but I feel like there's people cheering.
Oh, they're cheering right
They're
now.
freaking cheering, man. I appreciate it, dude. I'm super pumped, and it's gonna be a really fun conversation, and I appreciate you having me as a guest, man, honestly.
I got a lot of respect for you, man.
I appreciate that.
appreciate your appreciation.
Thank you.
And as I spoke with you outside of this, I like warming up first because I think life's so fast. It's very easy as a collective to forget moments in our life. And we're like, the cool thing about podcasting, it puts us such in a present moment together. But also we want to like make sure we're speaking to the audience and what they can get out of this. So we're going to be present, but I just want to focus on the past and specifically the last 6 months. What is something in the last 6 months that you're just like, Matt, I'm super proud of you. Like you talking to yourself, like what is
Mm.
that? Like, one thing that comes to mind is like the last 6 months of something that you're really grateful for, that you're proud that you stepped into.
Dude, I love this. I think where my mind goes first is just the ability to stay grounded in who I am as a human. I've had a lot of growth and a lot of success over the past 6 months, and there's been ups and downs, there's been trials and tribulations, there's been success and all the things in between. And I think it's just, I'm proud of like the person I still see in the mirror today. It still reminds me of the person that I was when I was in my mom's house 3.5 years ago. And I was talking to her just before this, like for Mother's Day and just catching up. And I think that's what I'm the most proud of is I think in this game, a lot of times it's easy to like let the wins get your ego to be too big, in addition to letting the failures maybe diminish your value as a human. And I think my ability to just stay really even keel, to stay really disciplined and consistent over the past 6 to 12 months, it's what I'm probably most proud of because I think a lot in my position, a lot of people might have been let the wins get their ego too big and not want to do things like this and be like, oh, I'm too fucking big for that. And I just don't see that. I just see myself as a human. I'm normal as fuck. And I think the human element of who I am, that has been the thing I'm most proud of.
So first off, thank you for sharing. When I originally said that I got a lot of respect for you, that's the shit right there, man. That's the shit right there. And before I tap into that, I want to then let's go to the next 6 months. What is something that you're really excited about that you're looking forward to?
I think I'm pumped to grow my team. I think that's just something where a lot of my time in the past 3 months, I've hired more people in the past 3 months than I had the first 3 years of my business. I was just that entrepreneur that's, you know what, you got to figure it out. You got to be dangerous at everything, wear 25 different hats and just trying to get your business through. But I think what I'm most excited for is setting up new standard operating procedures, having new operations, like having a new process because I can't function as an entrepreneur how I did in year one when I'm in year four. And I think I'm looking forward to nurturing my team, developing my team, and developing myself as a leader because it's super easy to be an entrepreneur when you're by yourself.
Yep.
It's easy to be disciplined on your own, but now it's like you have people that are counting on you and they're expecting you to lead them in the right direction, just setting the right vision up and letting them fail, letting them go through their own process, right? Because I think it's super easy to be a micromanager. I'm far from that as a leader. Like it doesn't need to be done my way. It doesn't need to be perfect to my eye. As long as I put people in positions to win, put people in positions for them to succeed based on their strengths and weaknesses, I'm super fucking pumped to see that growth because I think it's going to help my business overall. It's so hard to hire people because you want good talent. Every entrepreneur struggles with scaling because most of them want perfection. When in reality, perfection is all subjective. What you think is perfect, what I think is perfect are two completely different things. So how can I expect someone that I bring on to see the world exactly how I see it? They shouldn't. And I can't expect them to. So I'm super pumped to see my team grow and to see what type of growth that happens for me, myself, and my business, but also for them. Because I feel like, to your point, like something I really pride myself on is just having an optimistic and positive attitude. Any day, any room I step into, I want that to be my aura. And I want my team to feel that too. And that's what I'm super pumped for in the next couple months.
I'm super excited for you because there's the one side of it that you're now going to be able to impact so many more people's lives, but there's also like it's almost harder sometimes to be a solo entrepreneur because you have no one accountable. You're not accountable to anyone.
Mm,
Like you have your brother, which I'm sure it helps you in so many different ways, but like a lot of
100%.
people don't have that accountability partner. So having someone that is relying on you to show up each day and lead them is only going to help you to step into a better person and a better creator.
100%.
And with that, I want to like start you. I consider to be one of the better creators in the space currently. And the reason being is not just like the original thing that you said is something that you're very proud of yourself for and being grounded and being you and not losing yourself. I think it's very easy for a lot of people to do that in this world because of the comparison model and a lot of other things that they allow to infiltrate their mind and like they start losing themselves. Before we move forward, I think there's like a difference in what a creator is and what an influencer is. And a lot of people don't know that difference. I actually use ChatGPT to give me the exact difference. And here's the definition just for clarity.
I want to hear it. Let's
For
go.
clarity, a creator is someone, this is the simplicity of being a creator, someone who creates original content and shares that content. An influencer is someone that uses their power to influence someone's thinking to purchase things, using their influence, using their power, using their knowledge to influence someone, a buyer to buy something. Every creator or every influencer is a creator, but not every creator is an influencer. And I would
Fact.
also argue that not every creator wants to be an influencer.
Fact.
But to where I'm going with this is I think the world, I know the world needs more creators. I think that every single human being that walks this planet wants to be seen, loved, and understood at some capacity. And I think the power of using one's voice or in the form, maybe it's not your voice, of creating art is so powerful and healing and allows you to be seen, loved, and understood. So I'm curious your perspective on my thought of the world needing more creators and how can we really produce more creators?
Yeah. I think well done, ChatGPT. That's a pretty good description.
Shout
I think,
out.
yeah, shout out, honestly, because to your point, every influencer is a creator, but not every creator is an influencer. And I think that is actually, that latter piece is important because to your point, everyone wants the bag of being an influencer, right? They want the Nike deal. They want the Adidas deal because they're like, oh, shoot, I can turn this into a business. But to be a creator first is how you actually become the influencer. And you need to be authentic to yourself. You need to be
How you find yourself. Too.
100%, right? Because there's the thing with content, it's just like working out. It's just like a professional job. Like you need to be consistent to showcase what you do every single day. And for you to get a chance to be an influencer, you need to show up as yourself as a creator authentically to who you are. And if you try to create an illusion or if you try to copy someone else's content, at some point you weren't the original person that did it. So if a brand is looking at that, they're like, it looks very similar to this person's type of content, or they're vlogging just like Casey did, right? If you don't add your own twist, like your own element to the content that you're creating, then you're always going to be that like subject of, oh, they're like following that person's blueprint, that person's guideline. And I think and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, I feel like I get little bits and pieces from a lot of creators.
We're always learning.
We're always learning. And you should look at what the best people in the world are doing, but look at it from the lens of how can I implement it? How can I implement my skill sets, my characteristics into this style of content? Everyone can't be Casey Neistat or Emma Chamberlain. They can't have that gift for gab of vlogging and showcasing like their day in a way that's super digestible as a consumer. But you can find ways that you can tweak that into your own content, right? The vlog style is a great way to showcase who you are as a person. And if you're a creator that is looking to like showcase more of your authentic self and who you actually are, it might be smart to add in incorporates of that vlog style. So I think now you're to your question of how do we create more creators?
Well, I think that also just came up with another question that we'll get to that. What do you feel that in your evolution of being a man, how has content creation played a role in that?
I love this. It's something I talked to my brother about. I truly believe that putting content out there is the best way to face your insecurities. It's the best way to see who you actually are as a human. Because if you can do that, and if you can put yourself out there and not really care about the judgment, good or bad, of whatever someone might think of your video, your content, you're actually working the muscle of working on yourself. A lot of people are seeing it like, oh, it's just another video. It's just no, like in reality, it's you putting yourself out there for criticism, being vulnerable, being okay with the hate and the judgment and the love and admiration as well. But it's being okay with it and working that muscle, Brett. It's more powerful than any level of meditation at times, any level of physical fitness or exposure to cold therapy or heat because you're actually being judged. You're putting yourself out there and saying, yes, I want to hear your opinion of who I am. I'm raising my hand. I'm the person saying at a keynote when someone's, oh, who has questions? Who has questions? I'm basically volunteering myself to be criticized. There's no level of work as a human that you can do. Actually, there's other things that you can do as a human to develop that self. But to put yourself out there to get judged, I think it's helped me as a man to develop who I am as a person. My self-awareness, my level of understanding of self has also come from that. And it's also the other things I've done in my life, right? Whether it's fitness or spiritual stuff or whatever it might be. But that element of content, it's something that has taught me patience and discipline and consistency as a man. And it bleeds into everything I do.
How you do things, how you do everything.
100%. And I saw this thing on TikTok recently, this lady who's like a social media coach, and she had this point about like why it's important to post every day. It's not that your content has to be the best every day, but no different than why certain businesses and restaurants are open 7 days a week. You want people to know that you're available for work, that you're able to put yourself out there every single day, even when you don't want to show up. Very few businesses, Chick-fil-A, some businesses that don't operate on a day, they have a certain system that allows them to have that freedom. But for most businesses and people, you want to show up every single day. If you wouldn't have your business not be open Saturday, Sunday. You want every opportunity to be seen. So content's the same way. If you're looking at yourself as a business, if you are someone that wants to become a creator and turn this into an actual business, you need to show up for your business every day. You can't just show up when you want. And that element is something where I'm like, oh, I never actually even thought of it in that way, where this is a business. And the more you show up, where people are relaxing on Saturdays, Sundays, that's where you get ahead. And doing that over time, 1 year to 2 years to 3 years, you will see that compound effect. And it's just a matter of when.
Keep collecting that interest, baby.
100%. Because if you show up on Saturday, Sunday, Bray, when most people are chilling and relaxing, and look, every creator's different. If you're burning out, then yes, take a break. But if you really love what you're doing, show up for yourself to give someone else that authority. It gives someone else that feeling like, oh shit, they're still showing up on Saturday and Sunday. And you do that over time and just watch what happens.
I think even with that, like I believe that everyone has a gift to offer the world, and content creation is a way to showcase that and be vulnerable and show that out. And having a system of one day not being able to utilize your gift doesn't make sense to me. So outside of maybe you don't want to be an influencer, but you want to be a creator because you're able to showcase who you are to the world in order to be loved, seen, and understood. So what would you, before we move on, what would be your message to someone who maybe has some fear of tapping into that? You've answered in different ways, but like someone who just like, who has some fear, some resistance towards really showing themselves.
Yeah. I would say, like, where's the fear stemming from? Is it a fear of like scarcity where you don't feel like there's too many people in your space that like you're not worthy or whatever? Typically, it's the fear of judgment that stops people.
Yeah.
They're wondering what their parents are going to think or what their ex is going to think or what their friends from high school are going to think. If you get rid of the fear of judgment from other people, this game becomes a lot easier because you don't hear the negative or the positive. You need to be so clear that your mission is, I want to impact you need to be clear with your own personal mission for this to actually be a thing. And if you're not clear with your own mission, then of course it's going to be hard when no one watches your video or you get some negative backlash or you get some hate. Because once you see that one comment that's negative, you're going to be like, they're right. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. And you're listening to someone else's feedback of who you are. More people need to have a self-understanding of themselves. You need to be so confident in who you are as a human, man or woman, and you can't let anyone else's opinion dictate that. And you shouldn't, because they don't know who you are, actually. Their opinion of you it's actually jaded. They don't have the full picture. They don't have the full context. So how can you sit there and allow someone's comment to change your framework of who you are? It just means that you don't have enough confidence in yourself.
And you're not clear on your mission.
Not yet. And that is always evolving, right? My mission when I first started is actually, it's evolved as I've gotten older, as I've matured in the space. And with time, that stuff should change. You should be evolving. You should not be able to see someone from who they were last year into the current day. Hopefully they've grown. And if you surround yourself with people that are always looking to learn and to grow, you'll see that most people shouldn't be stagnant. Like there should be something that's new that you're working on and you're like, oh, I feel uncomfortable because this is new. And that's a good thing.
I want to pivot to the ones who are clear on their mission. Me and you are surrounded by a lot of doers, a lot
100%.
of people that are making impact in different ways. I think our generation is experiencing something that it is experiencing something that's never been done. We were there when there wasn't phones and technology, and now that it's in abundance. Information is in abundance. And I would argue that we are living in a war on information. More than ever, we have more power than we ever have, because for the longest time, the powers that be, whoever they may be, were able to influence culture so much because there was not access to knowledge. Now knowledge is freaking everywhere at our fingertips, and it's insane. There's so much power there. And what I've experienced and what's been my observation, that a lot of good people, good impactors, good influencers shy away from that power because of the negative connotations that are attached to it. And they're not stepping into their power, even though they're clear on it and they're allowing their impact to be in different ways. And I'm not saying that social media is the all in all to create more impact, but I believe that too many people shy away that because of the negative connotations, and they're not stepping into that. What would be let me put a box. So we got influencers, we have celebrities. I've seen so many celebrities over time. They have all this money, and so, like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Why aren't we using that power for good? And I see other influencers in that same boat. And this is not coming from a place of judgment, because we're all living in our own world. We're all doing what's happy for us. But at the end of the day, like, there is to me, that everyone has like this inner calling of purpose that needs to be tapped into, or we're never going to be completely whole and fulfilled. Money is not, and status is not it.
Yeah.
So what is your perception on the power of social media to really greatly impact the greater good? And as you said, being extra positive to influence the world.
Yeah, I think social media is just the vehicle. It's the platform that people consume on. But ultimately, that feeling of purpose, the feeling of wanting to do good, is something internal for every human. Bray, some people want that more than others.
Yep.
Some people do want to make more of a positive impact than a negative. Some people just want to get by and live their life selfishly, and that's totally good. Like, there's no right or wrong way to live in this world. Everyone has their own right to live the way they want to live. Now, if you are someone that wants to make more impact, creating a better relationship with social is just a better way to make your voice heard. You want to make more impact, you want more people to feel impacted by it, then put yourself out there so they can see it. Because if you're only in Austin, or if you're only in LA or wherever you live, if you're only trying to impact people in that area, then you're capped. Utilizing social to make impact across the country, not even just domestically, but internationally, is the best way, because there's the least amount of friction. When you post a video, you do not know how many people could see it and potentially get impacted. Now, if you are a creator that's already built your business and you've already done so many dope things, you need to ask yourself, are you in a position where that is something that's important to you? Not everyone wants to feed homeless people or provide back to the youth, right? Everyone doesn't have that level of impact. So as a human, you just got to ask yourself, like, do you find purpose in what you're doing? I'm a big fan of Naval Ravikant, and he has these things of, there's 3 things that truly make people happy. It's wealth, health, and your own personal happiness. And now to find those 3 things, to find that, it's hard to freaking take care of your body.
What vehicles are going to allow you to get to those 3 things?
100%. And it's a self thing, right? Like, cause I'm sure you know a lot of people that they've made it financially. They have a happy life, but their health is suffering.
They're rich here, but they ain't rich here.
100%. To be rich in all of those buckets, it takes a lot of time, sacrifice, and energy. And you need to be intentional with your time. So I think for that creator that's like on the cusp of, they're like, yeah, man, like I'm doing this thing with social, but not knowing where it's really going. I think you got to ask yourself, like, what's your intention with what you're posting? What's your intention with the content that you're creating? And in that, if you actually do want to make a lasting impact, first of all, you'll be a little bit more patient, and you won't be so much in a rush of, oh my God, I need my voice to be heard. Like, timing's always everything in life, whether it's content, whether it's business relationships, personal relationships. Like, you need to be in the right mindset to receive that type of love. And the more and more you work on yourself, you're creating those opportunities to get lucky. And it's like that whole Nipsey Hussle quote of, like, when opportunity meets preparation. When you've prepped yourself enough internally, when you're ready for it, when the timing is right, like, that impact will happen. It's just a matter of when. But most people can't see past a year of grinding or 2 years of grinding and not getting results. But shit, your breakthrough could be that 3rd year, or who knows, it could be 5th year. But if you stay true to yourself and your mission on the long term, playing the actual long game, that is actually the formula for success.
and actually having a system within that to where you're not constantly getting overwhelmed and like checking in on your attachments and expectations that you created and making sure that mission is still there. Because if you're, whether the process or system is taxing your grinding, as long as this is still here
Yes.
and that you're keeping your soul intact, then you're going to be just fine. And I'm curious with you as someone who, as you mentioned in the past 6 months and the past year, you popping off and a lot of brands are reaching out to you, different brands are working with you. And I know it has been not my personal experience, but just outside view of other celebrities and other influencers and working with brands, and they have their own voice, which you have your own voice. And how are you able to, I'm curious if you've been in a situation where like a brand has maybe tried to hush your voice a little bit or monitor your voice or twist it up in the Rubik's Cube a little bit. And what has been some practices, or and maybe this is a message to other people who have been in similar scenarios, to balance the you being able to keep using your voice for good versus kind of evolving versus what a brand is
Yeah.
suggesting that you need to do?
Yeah, I think there's levels of like confidence you need to have in yourself in the content that you're creating, right? There's obviously certain deliverables that a brand is bringing to you when they're bringing you on board for a project or a campaign. There's certain things that they want you to say to hit the brand messaging of pushing out a product, pushing out a new thing, whatever it might be. But I think the brands are realizing that they want and they should want the creator to speak from their voice. Because at the end of the day, if you give me a script and you're Under Armour and you're making me say these exact lines and it doesn't feel natural, it's going to come across as very unnatural in the content. And it's a losing formula. So brands are starting to realize, yeah, there's this general list of deliverables and main points, but a lot of the people I work with now, they're very lenient with me just being able to express it in my way. I see what they want me to say, and as long as I hit the main points, I can still riff whatever I want. Now, at the same time, there's been brands where I've done very poorly because I'm just like, my heart's not in it. I just wanted to do this for the bag. And now I'm sitting here with my freaking making all these changes because I'm like, this is what happens when you just chase after money. And if the brand doesn't align with you, if the agency that you're working with doesn't align with who you are as a person and they only want it their way and they're micromanaging you, instantly you feel that as a creator. You're like, damn, this isn't really me. This is just what they want me to say. And now I'm just trying to piece this thing together and it's half-assed. And I felt that doing like a body wash deal with Dove. And I'm like, it didn't speak to me. I wasn't fired up to do it, but it was an opportunity to make money. And there's that opportunity every day.
And that money can go, just to be clear, that money can go towards pushing the things that you want to do.
And I'm a creator that actually puts revenue as the least priority for myself, as in terms of my brand. Like I put brand and my audience and then revenue in that order. That's how I make my decisions. Sometimes there's opportunity to just go for revenue.
Can you say that again?
Brand, audience, and then revenue. And this is something I learned from a mentor of mine. He was like, Matt, that's how you should be thinking about most of the decisions that you do. Most creators work the opposite. Revenues first. They're like, I need to turn this into money to validate myself, to validate to other people that you can turn this into a business. But by doing that, you take shortcuts and you start making missteps along the way because you're just chasing after money. I make so many decisions that are not revenue friendly. They're actually the opposite. I do so much shit for free. I give up my time. I go to these things, and a lot of times because I want to build my brand. I want to build my audience, because once you build that to be so strong, you can get any brand deal in the world. But how many people are willing to be patient for 3 years, not do any brand deals, and in the 4th year, get everything in the world? Very few.
That's why also doing some of the short-term gains of a Dove commercial can help play into that long-term vision.
100%. And everyone's circumstance is different, right? So I'm not telling you that you have to do it my way. Everything I say today, question everything I say. Don't think that what I'm saying today is 100% because it's just been right for me. So understand that as a human, you guys should question everything you hear, from Elon Musk to Bray to me to whoever you look up to. Question everything, because that's how you're going to learn. It's on some Naval shit, right?
Yep.
And I think that's actually the formula for success. Make your own opinion about this world, but it has to happen through practitionership. You have to go through it to have the knowledge of it. And I went through 3 years of doing a lot of shit, making a lot of mistakes, having some wins for me to come to that conclusion.
You have been super consistent for, you said 3.5 years when you started this journey. And I'm sure that there's been times when there has been unhealthy boundaries with content creation, and maybe some things that you still come in contact with today that could potentially cross boundaries in terms of your own system and how you create, and being overtaxed and overworked and all this overwhelm. It's a real thing in our world. What are some tips and strategies that you have developed over time that could potentially help someone else as they are beginning their journey? If you could speak to yourself 3.5 years ago and, hey, Matt, we're going down this journey. We're going to do it right this time. Not that it was wrong then,
Of
but
course.
it's a learning experience.
Of
So
course,
what
dude.
would be maybe like 3 to 5 tips that you would give?
First one would be authentic to yourself. Find out what your own voice is, because the more you're authentic to yourself, the faster you can create, right? There's a correlation between having a level of self-awareness to then push content out. Part of self-awareness is having confidence, it's having conviction, it's having levels of discipline and accountability, because if a post doesn't do well, you need to be okay in your mind to post the next day again. And that has to do with self-awareness. You can't let the fear of the judgment dictate how fast and how quickly you post. Most people don't post enough because they're trying to find the perfect piece of content. There's no perfection in anything that we do as humans. The second thing would be to create systems. I'm so unorganized. I'm so throw pasta on the wall, just
Slaying
test
shit
all this
everywhere.
shit. Like me and CJ relate with that so much. 'Cause I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't care if it's perfect. I just want to test and I want to do as much as possible.
I'm the same way.
I wish that year 1 and 2, bro, I had more systems in my content. I probably could have scaled a business faster if I was more organized with, oh, there's interest in this category. Maybe I should create a mobility guide, or maybe I should create a guide so they can follow, right? I probably could have done that and maximized more on revenue, but I didn't. And I was just like, hey, I wanted to do the Murph thing, and then I want to do this, and then I want to do that, and then I want to do flag football, and then run ultra marathons and all this shit. Having systems early on help you replicate what you're trying to do, especially when you bring team members on. Because right now I'm going through that where,
SOPs.
right, I'm having to reconfigure my SOPs because I was operating, oh, Matt can do this, Matt can do that, I can edit it and get it out. But when you have team, you can't just operate like that. It can't just be going on in your own mind. There needs to be a process on how things go. So that would be probably another thing, where just create systems. Even if they're minor systems, it's something.
I see minors. I want to say real quick, to be clear, messy action always outweighs you trying to like develop that perfect system to get going.
Of
Move forward. Like that messy action may not look pretty at first, but at least you're learning along the way.
Move fast, break things. It's that whole startup term of just start. Like you need to get the reps in before you get clear with the process. Because most people try to your point, they want the exact blueprint before they ever start. Just get it going. And on that journey, just be very curious and adaptable along the way. And then find good mentors on the journey and be like, oh, they're doing it like this, or they have a system for this, or X, Y, and Z. So that would be number 2. And then the third thing would be surround yourself with like-minded people. Like it's so rare to find a community of people that are doing things that are similar to you. And that's why I love Austin. Like honestly, if you don't have the people near you, then you need to start listening to different shit and create your own board of advisors through the content, through the books you're reading, through whatever you're digesting, right? That's because, yeah, I got that from CJ. I'm like, oh shit, that's actually so true. I've had so many board of advisors. Shout out CJ. Let's freaking go. CJ freaking Finley.
Baby.
But yeah, I think that's such a positive thing. And that has been such a catalyst on my journey, Bray, where so much of who I am is the people I've learned from and listened to along this journey. I didn't just become this person because I made videos every day. No, that was a piece of it, but it was the people I learned from along the way of how they dealt with their success, how they dealt with failure, how they dealt with adversity and all of these things. And for people that live in Des Moines, Iowa or South Dakota that don't have a lot of inspiring friends or people that are in this space, you live in the technology age. You live in the information age. It's right on your device. You can literally become whoever you want if you change what you're listening to. And that would be something where it's not a sexy thing, Bray. Telling someone to go listen to a bunch of pods and then read books is not sexy, but there's value in that, especially if you take what you learn and start putting it into practice. And that second piece of putting it into practice is where most people struggle. People consume so much information, then don't do anything, and they wonder why they're in the same place. So there needs to be a level of action and the ability to fail and to keep going that is required to become an entrepreneur. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to do things differently, and you can't do what everyone else is doing. And if you are, then you have to ask yourself, how badly do you really want to be an entrepreneur? And that would be the 3 things.
I love it. To recap, be authentic to yourself,
Yeah.
Build systems,
Yes,
surround yourself with the right people. And with that, like find mentors
100%.
within the social media space. I did the same thing. And I think there's, as you said, there's so much information out there, right? And we're in a world of abundance of information. How do we dissect it? How do we find what we are If we don't know who we are, how do we know who we want our mentors to be? And I think that takes a lot of just abundance of consuming a lot, because
Mm,
then when you're consuming that information, you're learning about what does my body connect with in that
facts.
process. So was there any, yeah, I'm curious what your process is over time of selecting mentors, and who, and
Yeah.
like, how did you like really consume them? What was your process with that?
This is a great question because you know what I think of, Bray, is like when I find an entrepreneur that I'm like, I don't really love their message. They're dope, they're successful as shit, and a lot of people are they love them and they're making a lot of impact for a lot of people, but it just doesn't resonate with me.
Exactly.
I think how I went about it was I wanted to find people that matched my values and morals and virtues first. People that cared about doing the right thing, giving more than you take, spreading positivity, and doing it the right way, whatever that looks like for them. And someone I really think of is Gary Vee. I look up so much to how Gary Vee has built his business as an immigrant, how he treats his employees, how he treats himself, and how he's able to be a forward thinker and be adaptable along the way. Someone I would compare it to that I don't love as much, but is a super successful guy is Grant Cardone. There was an episode with Grant and Gary said, I work harder than you. And Grant was like, how do you know? And I just know that I work harder than you. It doesn't matter. And it's not that, whether it's true or not, his internal conviction and belief that he is working harder than anyone on the planet.
You connect with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one can change that framework, right?
Yeah.
Like what are you going to show me a piece of paper of how many hours you're logging or what you're doing? Like, how do you judge how hard someone's working? It's just that internal belief that no one's going to waver my own delusion in that
Yeah,
sense. Like,
yeah.
I have this belief.
Or you're in your world. That's
Exactly.
why I say I'm the best athlete in the world, but I'm in my world.
100%.
Like,
And that's all that matters. Like,
Yeah.
you just need to have that internal framework. So that is a great example of, yeah, I really resonated with Gary and how he just is as a human, his emotional intelligence and how he brings that to business, especially in a time where it's not so sexy to be kind to your employees, to be kind to strangers when you have everything. We live in that world of like the Steve Jobs of, oh, you just got to get shit done. You need to fucking just work your ass off. Like how, like that is not.
which is evolving because of people like,
And it's because of people like Gary who made it cool. We were talking about such dope things that right now is dope, but 5 years ago, kindness and positivity and abundance, like these weren't things that people are putting on a pedestal. But now to actually build a business that's proper, to make impact on your employees and other people, it's by just doing things that are human. Like these are just values and morals that are human shit. Bray, I don't want to surround myself with people that are not kind to themselves and to other people. I don't even want to be associated with you, period. And that's just like a prerequisite for me. It's like for me to even engage with someone, for me to even like actually consider someone like a friend or like wanting to connect with them, they're almost always just a good fucking human. If you're not a good person, I don't want to be associated, period. End of story. And that is something that's regular for some people. It's very hard for others.
Yep.
And it's like, how do you coach or teach or develop that? It's like, it's a software that some people just don't have. And it's hard to fucking relearn that.
It starts with finding out who you are, but full circle here. The original question that I asked, and we ended up evolving that question, is like, why does the world need more creators? You just answered it, because you wouldn't have found Gary Vee if he wasn't tapping into who he was, for you to learn from him and absorb and find out about yourself. Oh, I connect with this part of him. That is something that's inside of me.
100%, bro. And I love how you actually, dude, 1000%. That's actually why the world needs more people like us, because it does spread. It's contagious as fuck. The aura of that feeling that people get is something that you can't put a dollar sign on. And the more and more this world has that, it becomes the norm. And when that's the norm, this world will be a better place, slowly but surely. And there's so many bad things that's happening in the world, and you can look at all the negative. And easily, on the flip end, you can look at all the positive shit and be like, holy fuck, we live in the best time to be alive.
You control your reality.
100%. However you want to see the world is your choice.
And surround yourself with the right people, as you said, but also surround yourself with the right information.
Period.
Not right. I'm going to say right or wrong, but the information that you align with, because that's going to shape your reality and shape your world.
And consume all information, right? Can see both sides of the story. So many people want to see it just from their lens, when in reality, that's cool. Now see it from the opposite lens and see why some people might not actually agree with how you see it. And it's not that everyone needs to see it the same exact way, but I think we need a little bit more balance in this world where if you look at politics, if you look at religion, like everyone is always on their side, their party, and they want to prove to the other party why this is right. In reality, most people find themselves in the middle. They have some beliefs here, they have some beliefs here, and if you look at the world, most people see it in very similar views, but the world, how we're designed here is we want teams and groups. You need to be blue or red. You need to be Catholic or Christian. It's like
We weren't designed that way.
100%.
We weren't designed that way.
We've now evolved as a society to put ourselves into these groups to then fight against each other.
And with that, you mentioned earlier, question everything. I think I've been having conversations with Yash, and there's always, in any type of conversation or belief, there's three truths. There's your truth, there's my truth, and there's the universal truth per se,
Period.
which is constantly evolving too at some capacity. And for everyone, like, you're welcome to develop your own belief system, even challenge those and question those belief systems, because I'm constantly evolving and shattering old belief systems from my younger years. But allow room and space for the other person to be human and do the same thing. That's also connects with creators and celebrities. I can't judge a celebrity for not using their power for good. I don't know the reflection of their whole entire life.
Yeah.
I'm just opening to the fact that I am observing that I wish there was more action happening, because, as you said, there is a lot of bad in the world, but there's a lot of good happening, and there's only more good going to continue to happen because of people like us, as you express. Don't enable, or don't, enable is not the word. Make sure that you're being true to yourself and choosing the right people to bet on and lean in on. Absorb that information to allow it to create the world that you want to see.
100%. I guess like the hard part is like, for some people, the process of finding the right people, that might just be a reflection on how they're currently feeling and maybe the childhood, right? Like maybe some people do find someone's message like the truth, and maybe universally it's not the best message, but who are we to say that's right or wrong? That could just be their framework, and they're like, hey, I like this person. And if it impacts them in a positive way, I guess regardless of who you're receiving your info from and insights from, if you do something positive with it, it doesn't really matter where it's coming from. But I think the hard part is, do the people actually do a positive thing with the insights that they get from whoever it is? Imagine I wasn't looking up to Gary and I looked up to someone else that's an entrepreneur, and they were like, oh, don't treat your employees right. Don't treat people with kindness and empathy, right? And you just treat them rude because you're the boss and you have that power. Imagine that was my insights. And I'm thinking that this is right. This is good insights. This is how I should treat my team and other people. And then that becomes what I bleed out. Is that right or wrong? Who are we to say? But it's just, I guess my punchline is that if you're someone that's trying to figure out like who you want to listen to and what insights you want to get, I think the inner work needs to happen first for you to even put these things into practice. Anyone can listen to a podcast, but what are you going to do about it now? And I think you need to filter out how many people that you're consuming until you get to the right thing. I've listened to hundreds of podcasts from Jay Shetty, Jesse Itzler, David Goggins, Jocko Willich, Gary, all these people. You need to filter a lot of it to make your own recipe, getting ingredients from all of them. A little
spices.
Salt, a little garlic, a little pepper, a little...
Cook that shit up.
Cook that shit up and make it your freaking own at the end of the day. That's what we want in this world. We all want to be heard. We all have our own stories. So make it your own. You can take bits and pieces of people's shit and make your best recipe possible, period.
Have you heard of this term called
Parasocial?
I only heard it for the first time 2 days ago.
I don't think so. Explain.
I'm going to explain it. I'm going to use ChatGPT. I'm going to say it out. Parasocial refers to the psychological relationship that people form with media personalities or celebrities, where they develop feelings of attachment, intimacy, and or identification with them despite the one-sided nature of the interaction. So you can understand now.
Yeah.
So there's a show that just came out recently. I forget what it's called, but this girl was like slicing and dicing people who were leaving negative comments on some influencer celebrity. And I find it a fascinating concept because I'm not surprised, because I think as a society, we idolize celebrities so freaking much, which probably is building my somewhat resentment of the fact that I've brought up the idea that I feel like they don't do enough good in the world. But we have created this pedestal we talk about separation. Like, what is this separation? Like that, your ability to step into that same similar power, if that is what you want, it is there. And we create this construct of the elite status through celebrities and even influencers. And then we embody and consume too much of it, potentially. Some people.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm really bringing this up as an open discussion because I find it interesting, because I know there's a lot of people who are potentially, a lot of people in the world are not living their lives because, as you said, the inner work. We're living on this hamster wheel. We're not ever questioning anything. So we're constantly in the same loop of life and never evolving, never growing. And what is your, I don't even know that the question here is more, I find it interesting, this parasocial concept.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've experienced that yourself. Well, I guess we'll go that route.
Yeah,
Have you experienced with anyone that's consistent, like a follower of yours that you seem is over the top? Have you been in conversations with other people who have experienced something like this?
Yeah, I think this is what I'll say. It's a one-way street if you think about creators and celebrities. Tom Brady, Giselle, whoever you look at, you can find out so much info about who this person is. And if you see them on the street, you'll be like, holy shit, that's Tom Brady. I know so much about him. And it's a one-way street. You feel like you have a connection with this person because you actually do know them. You know their date of birth. You know what teams they played on. You know where they're from and all these things. But from Tom's POV, he's just, oh, it's just another fan. And I feel it more now with people I meet. I'm so present every single time I meet someone new because I don't know what they might be, where they are in life, right? But they know a lot about who I am, but I might not know them. Like yeah, maybe I follow them or maybe I've seen them on social, but that's a one-way connection. That's kind of like what you said. That's like that's the example of the definition of the word. But how do you, like, as a human, as a creator, be present and just show up for that person on that day for that minute conversation? And because that person has the lens of you, they've known who you are, they know what races you're prepping for. At times it is uncomfortable. I'm like, fuck, I forgot their name. I don't know where I met them at. And I feel like an asshole at times because I'm like, I meet so many people. Sometimes I meet them for 30 seconds. I never see them again. Sometimes I see them at the gym and I'm like, oh shoot, I feel like I've seen that person before, but I'm drawing a blank on the name, so I don't want to go up and say what's up again. So it's like, it gets very strange because like now, because I put myself out there so much, people have a lens of my life. They know what I'm working on. They know what I'm training. They know like where I went to eat the night before. It's fucking weird at times, but I've also put myself out there for it to be something that people can see. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think for
No,
me,
this is a discussion.
yeah, it's just, it is strange, but yet humbling, but definitely a little bit like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And we were with a creator yesterday. And it becomes like the zoo animal like the lion at the zoo, right? That's a one-way connection.
Yeah.
Every kid that walks around seeing the lion just sleeping, they want the lion to express a feeling, to move around. But that lion just sits there all day seeing people just take videos of it.
We want a piece of that
100%.
lion at some level. It's like someone wants a piece
100%.
of the energy that you bring in the world, which something that I've actually this is coming up for me, I know that I'm a light and that I'm positive, but at the same time, it's like I only have so much energy and bandwidth that I can give. And how do I set boundaries within myself? And I've had this own personal dialogue that I was creating that came up for me. And now I'm challenging this dialogue. But the dialogue was like, do people really want to be around me, or they just want the energy that I bring to the world? And now where I'm conclusion now is like, I can't judge anyone, even if that is true, because that is my power. That is my gift. Why would I hide it? Because I want to control how they use it. Right.
Yeah. That is a fucking realization, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's power.
It's power. And but I guess with that too, I was having a conversation with a creator as well, and they put people into 3 groups. They have their inner circle, and my inner circle keeps getting smaller and smaller. I know the people that I want to build with. I don't need to network as much anymore.
Fair.
Like I have that team, that core team of impactors. And then there's the other circle, which is, let's say, the people in the gym that come across, and
Fair.
giving them more time than someone like a random networking event, but it's still not, they're not in my inner circle, but hey, we're cool, we're friends, we may do some random activities together. And then the wider range, which is the people that you're coming in contact more often, or like more often at events and things of that nature. And it's very small, quick transactions.
Yeah.
I think having that system and dialogue of, okay, this is these groups, but as you said, being super present and making sure that you are giving some form of energy bandwidth into that moment.
Yeah.
That is going to have an impact on them. Versus like where I was sharing my own personal dialogue of, nah, blinders on. Don't look at me.
Don't say what's good.
Don't look at me. And that doesn't align because that's me hiding who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm so ingrained.
And your gift to the world.
Exactly. So and imagine there's been an evolution of that for you as well, because you are gaining a lot more traction. It's only going to keep going.
Yeah.
How have you been more in tune with that?
Yeah. I think this is such a great question because similar to you, Bray, I'm similar in that aspect of the inner circle becomes much smaller, much tighter. And separate from that, there's like the business network of, like how can I see that there's a value exchange always in this world. A lot of people give, but they expect something in return. Someone like us, we're going to give with no expectation. So sometimes you leave yourself vulnerable because people are going to be like, oh, I can get Matt's time. I can get Bray's time. I can do this. Like they have access to some capacity. But I think the hardest thing is to stay grounded and in your own humility to understand that you're just a fucking human. If I fucking die tomorrow, Bray, a lot of people will continue their lives. As harsh as that might sound, it's the reality. So I don't allow myself to be like, oh, I can't be like nice or this. It's just, it's irrelevant. I want to be present in any conversation I'm in. Human, right? And it could be tough at times, but like for me, because my cup is so full, it's easy for me to be positive regardless. If I know you for a year, if I know you for 10 minutes or 10 seconds, whatever it is, but I would be lying if I wasn't super intentional with how I spend my time when I'm here in Austin specifically. And whether it's spending more time in solitude, whether it's spending time with people that I know that are like my tribe and like we have that similar framework, it's being just intentional with your time. I think when you're not in front of the zoo animals,
Mm.
when you're in your own thing, when you're in your own spirit, in your own space, like how comfortable are you there? And like, I feel like I'm so fucking comfortable in my own skin and space. I don't need any validation from anyone else.
Great.
Yeah. And it's just like when I go out there, my cup is so full that I'm like, here, I got water for all y'all and I got plenty.
I didn't plan on going this route. He said, I got plenty. Yeah. I got plenty of water.
Plenty.
All right. I want to go this route because this is what's coming to mind. How do you have so much water? Because like you seem very grounded and you do a lot and you pour a lot of energy into the world. And there's always a balance. Like you have to recharge.
100%.
So what does that practice look like for you?
So many things. It's at this point compounded into a lot of minuscule habits and routines that have compounded into exactly who I am. And a lot of it started when I was really finding myself at my mom's place and like just doing the inner work, like doing the self-work that is required to figure out who you are. And it still happens. The reason I take it so serious is that I don't think I've made it. I don't think that my philosophy or my framework is correct or right. I'm always changing that shit. It's always growing. Now, what it looks like is, I think it's fueled off gratitude and perspective. That's why it's so full. I see the world that I have so much shit. I have so much good in my life, yet I want more. But I know that there's millions of people that wish that they had what I had. Right now, there are millions of people that don't have clean drinking water. So if I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, I live in a freaking house in Austin, Texas. I'm able to sit here and have a great fucking conversation. Like I have so much, but people don't see it like that. They're like, I'm thinking about my business. I'm stressing because I want to make 20K a month versus the 10 I'm making now. And it's because we live in this rat race of always trying to prove our worth. I don't give a fuck.
You said it.
And I can only prove myself to myself, period. What other people think of me, like, oh, Matt, you're doing this, you're doing that. That's awesome. But like, I just am fulfilled with what I'm doing. What I do every day, Bray, I never feel like I work. I legitimately think every day is Monday and I'm like, let's go rip it. Now, to answer your question, like, how did that happen? Like, how do you become that person? You have to find out who you are. And you need to be on that constant quest of understanding self. The reason I love the physical challenges and the things that are out of my comfort zone is because every single time I show up to those races in that start line, it's a level of humility. It's a level of humbleness of you can't just get it just because you show up here. You need to now put the work in. And every race, every day is different. Every marathon I run, there's a different struggle I go through, a different internal struggle, a physical struggle, a spiritual struggle. And every single day you equip yourself with this like micro stressors, cold plunge, sauna, physical fitness, mental fitness, yoga, meditation. You throw all these little micro stressors. It makes it so much easier to handle the big stress. I always have this framework of what's really stress. Stress is a single mother that has to put food on the table for 5 kids. That's stress. What we're doing, this is a given choice. Chosen suffering on some Chris Williamson. That's the game of life. We choose the things that we're going through, but most people run from the suffering. They don't want to be uncomfortable, right? They want to find comfort. Most humans in this world want to seek it. The leather cars and the seats, the Beamers, the Mercedes, and we think that's going to fulfill us. If you're not fulfilled with yourself, then you're going to lose at some point. So that's how my cup's always full. It's fueled off gratitude and perspective.
Fueling your internal world.
100%.
So you can allow the external world. And you don't need no blue check mark to validate yourself.
Bray, so you know how many, do you know how many people have been messaging me? Matt, how come you haven't gotten the blue check? Why didn't you buy it yet?
I'm
Why
already validated, bro.
I don't need it. That check does not mean shit to me. It does not make my worth higher or lower. And I could get it. Like, it costs $12. Like, I could go do it right now after this call. I've had multiple creators ask me, Matt, why haven't you bought the blue check yet? And my answer is because I don't think that that's going to change anything.
Yep.
Do you feel like your value is higher because now you have a blue check that you're verified? Now, down the line, 6 to 12 months, Bray, if we start talking about the real reason people are doing it is to protect their identity and to do those things so there's not spam accounts, I can see that being valid. But people that are coming up to me saying, Matt, the blue check means that you're going to get seen more on the for organic reach and I'm like, that's such a short-term thinking. And people wants the instant gratification of, oh, now I look official. Now when someone sees my account, they're going to be like, oh, they're proper. And it's just, that's not the truth. And it's, my thinking could be right or wrong. Whoever is listening to this, they can have their own opinion, but I don't get validated by those metrics or those, I guess, symbols or whatever you want to call the blue check, like whatever that is, like that affirmation of they're proper, they're official.
You've already been validated because you went through the inner work.
On myself, and it's still happening.
A lot of people don't understand what that is, though. Because I think I same with you. I've said do the inner work, do the inner work. When I first moved here, like I had 2 years I was by myself, and now I'm gonna fast forward, like where I've come to the conclusion, it's really the 4 pillars for me, and it's all centered around health. Like when I have been the healthiest version of myself, it allows me to have all this energy and be and show up and have the gratitude, which is in there. So the physical health, like that was I think fitness is the most freaking easiest, beautiful thing to gain credibility with who you are and understand who you are.
Period.
It's like you do something, oh, I just did that.
Fastest result.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And then within that, challenging yourself, which is a mental health for me, of challenging the limits you placed on yourself, the belief systems you place on yourself. You're going to face those demons when you're doing fitness. Spiritual health, like whatever that looks like, if it's meditation, if it's going to church, like doing something, like living for something that's bigger than you, to me, that is spiritual health. That's and then emotional health, having conversations like this that are deep and challenge your views on life and not shine away from stuff like that. And let all the superficial conversations and small talks that I don't know if you grew up, or I grew up around that for a long time. And that's why I had to get out of that world because it was too small.
Yeah. And
too small mind thinking. Like there's just so much more to the world.
It's almost addictive when you start getting out of the small talk.
Oh my gosh.
You almost only crave the actual human connection. And it's not, I think in our space, Bray, where it gets challenging is that it almost then becomes small talk is erased and it's only business talk. It's only like personal, all right? So there's levels of that too, where it's, oh, is it human still? Where like
coach friend.
100%. And I think there's a difference between just having a tribe of people that might have similar thinking and similar frameworks versus like it always having to be like a biz dev conversation. No, there's also time to just be human, be like, yo, what are you working on? What are you struggling with? What's something exciting in your life? Like just that shit too, where it's not always like oh, how's the business going? Because sometimes now when we're high achievers, you're so selective with your time. The hard part now is like, how do you separate it? Yep. Is it only a business thing?
Yep.
Do you only have your network because it's a business thing?
Yep.
And that's something that you have to, as entrepreneurs, you have to ask yourself as well. It's not that it's just that. I think it's just when you're around people that think like you do, you want to just be around more of that. And then it happens to be the fact that these are the topics that you end up talking about because it's not, oh, did you watch the game yesterday? Or what show are you watching?
But I think with that, though, you can be more intentional about the questioning to see that person as a human versus as a business.
100%.
We were talking before, like you're being a human and a creator, you're creating your own business, and that is a reality. And that's something that is going to help you to level up faster and thinking that way. But with that, like be able to separate that and see that human as the human they are. Even if like someone like you that's super positive, you still have your demons.
For sure.
I'm someone who's super positive. I still got my demons. I still get negative thought patterns that come up. And what I'm trying to be better in is being that person that really checks in on people more often, even if they are doing good. Yo, just hit them up. Hey man, like on a human level, not on a business level. And I think if people can be more intentional with that, and especially with the people that they say that they love and they care about, like check in with those people, even if they're doing good.
I love that. I love that. It's funny because it's fun. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. And Gary, I don't know how, and I don't know if someone's doing this on his team, but like, he'll send out messages to creators like myself and like people that are, it'll just be very quick. Yo, keep pushing, keep doing dope shit.
That's so cool.
And it's so dope. But I'm thinking to myself, like, fuck, if Gary has time to do, what's stopping me from doing exactly that? What you just said, Bray. Like reaching out to your friends and like people that are like, that seem like they're crushing and just give them that, yo, I see what you're doing. Keep fucking going. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's simple. It takes 10 seconds. That 10 seconds of your time could make such a positive impact for where that person is in the season of their life.
Yeah, because we're hustling out here,
Hustling, bro.
and this doesn't have to be just for creators, but
Of
like,
course.
but creating that, I guess, container for the people that you care about. Because I'm gonna give a shout out to Danielle because she's one of my next guests, but also one of my best friends, and
Yeah.
she does that, and we both do that with each other. We'll text each other, be like, "Yo, like, I see you," because we don't spend a lot of time with each other.
Of course.
We're both just hustling, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yo, I see what you're doing. Keep it up." Things of that nature. I get that text. I'm like, "Oh man, like I needed to hear that at that moment in time." And so you never know where that person is in a moment in time, even if they are in a good place.
100%. It could fucking brighten up your day.
Yes. You've been brightening up my day, man. You're the man. I have a couple last things that we're going to do. I've created what the help of ChatGPT, man. a custom rapid fire questions for each person. So I'm about to hit you with 10.
Okay.
And then we'll finish with the last thing.
Amazing.
So we're going to go through. Number 1, what type of online videos create the most laughter for you?
Entertainment.
Entertainment. Can binge watching a favorite TV series be considered a valid form of therapy? If so, what show?
Yes. I'm currently, me and my brother, rewatching this show called Itaewon Class, which is a Korean drama.
Okay.
But it's like an entrepreneurial story.
Okay.
What's it called? Rags to riches kind of story.
That sounds super cool. If you could switch lives with anyone for a day, who would it be?
No one.
I love that. If you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Damn.
One song only.
I'm God's Plan, Drake.
Oh. I love it.
I'm a big fan of that.
I love it. Does social media make people more social or less social?
It just exposes if they're actually social.
Do you think influencers secretly compete with each other over who has the best avocado toast?
Yes.
Can you tell if someone is single just by looking at their Instagram feed?
No.
Hey, we're not going to go down that tunnel, but yeah. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, how many likes is it worth?
10,000.
It's one of those silly questions, man. If The Rock was like, "Yo, Matt, let me step into your world," what would you take him to do?
Cold plunge and sauna.
Let's go. Last question. Initial thought process when receiving a negative criticism on social media. Message to the haters.
I hope you're doing okay.
Amen to that. Last thing. It's been a pleasure, man. Seriously.
Dude, it's so fun.
I want you to imagine that it's not just us right now, and we're intercom to the people of the world, because we are, as we've expressed, this is a war of information, and we want to spread positivity and love and connectiveness. You have a message that you want to share with the whole entire world.
The whole world.
Based off the premises of this conversation today, and of maybe a takeaway, or, yeah, I'll let you ride with that, what you want to sit with.
I love that. I'm talking to this camera right here.
Oh, yeah.
Main shot. There's a quote I live by. The only limits we have are the ones we believe in. So I think my challenge to anyone in this world is change your internal beliefs. Who you think of yourself, who you're seeing in the mirror right now, it does not have to always be that person. Everyone wants the secret sauce of like, how do I do the thing? Or how do I build the business? Or how do I do this, X, Y, and Z? All of it is the person that you see in the mirror. You change that reflection. You change the inner voice of how you're talking to yourself, how you see yourself in this world. Everything else will fall into place. But if you never work on self, all the things that you want in this world, at some point you might get validated, and it might be nice to have the car and the things and the that, but you're not going to be fulfilled. So work on yourself, and the only limits you have are the ones you believe in. So start changing the narrative, even in your own head, and just see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Let's create that recipe, baby.
The
Cook that shit up.
Don't just use salt
Drink
and
all
pepper.
the water too. Drink all the water too. Come
on.
on.
Use a lot of ingredients, dog. And I think that's what makes a great recipe. It's ingredients from a ton of people, a ton of things. If you just use salt and pepper, that's all. Use some cayenne pepper, some freaking whatever it is. And
don't shy away.
Don't shy away.
Tap in. All right, y'all. That is all we have for today. Stay blessed.